Hello.
Hi.
So we are getting friends. I'm gonna pull in friends from across different universes into the Darth Doom pool universe, and we are going to be matching up some more characters pretty quick here. So we are taking for Bruce. We are going to be taking Gur, and we are going to be matching Gur up with with Deadpool. So my thought there is it's going to be like the normal Gur robot, but the dog suit will be red with black, and we'll just turn it into the dog suit as kind of like a Deadpool dog suit. So it'll be like a dog pull Gur. And then for Sandra, we are taking a version of Storm, and we are going to take that version of Storm and match it up with Ahsoka Tano. My thought being, if you take Ahsoka Tano's arm pieces and then take the Storm that has the droopy cape pieces that hang on the side, the cape piece will hook to her wrist guard, and then we're going to use Ahsoka Tano's boots instead of the knee-high leather boots that Storm would normally wear. The version that's in that picture, all that gold that's on her, I'm probably going to switch that over to silvers and blues. And then Storm's helmet or crown right there she wears, I'm going to take that and switch Ahsoka Tano's crown, but keep Ahsoka Tano's ear, like little those have a name. I can't think of it. Nerds, say it in the chat. But her dangly pieces, her like a Twi'lek, but I know she's not Twi'lek. But she has the two in the front and the little one in the back. But anyways, she's gonna get that, but she'll have the Storm crown and then the Storm uniform with the cape piece, and then Ahsoka Tano's arm pieces, including the gauntlets, and then the shin guards and boots, the split toe shoe thing that Ahsoka Tano has. Eventually, we might go over to Kyber Cave and get the Ahsoka Tano blades. Those are kind of pricey, but Kyber Cave has dope lightsabers. These are the ones I'm using for Doomful. And these things are super tough. So you can take these and beat them. And they'll keep holding up. I just dropped that one. I'm not worried about it. So if you need a good saber, something you're not worried about getting beaten up in the con, one of these is a great option. And then you can change the color into all kinds of different colors here. So Kyber Cave makes a dope saber. Definitely, if you need one, go check them out. They're rechargeable, they're combat sabers. You can beat the living hell out of them. You get different length blades for them. And their price range goes from like 80 something bucks up into a couple hundred. So you can get really cool sabers from them. But definitely that today's so previously we've seen the Doom map, but now Doom mask has magnets. And these magnets are actually set up so that my Deadpool mask here on the inner shell has these metal pucks. So now I can take the Doom face and just hang it right there and it clicks right in. And then when I can just grab it and pull it off. But because there's two of them sticking there, you can actually it'll hang completely vertical. That light is bugging me. Give me one sec. No more light in there. Alright, that looks better. But yeah, that's what we did there. You get these metal things on Amazon. They're made by 3M. I had to super glue them on to get them to stick to this. They are the same thing that holds Bemo's faces on. What's up, Easy Money? These I also got off Amazon. These are 15-pound magnets, and this mask weighed 7.5 pounds. So one of these would hold the weight, but because I have two, it basically is just so that when I look down, the mask doesn't swing out. That is where that is. So I broke a little bit of it, but I trimmed up the hood section here and added Velcro to it. I did that so that this can go in the wash because we all get sweaty when we cosplay. This got all sewed up. We have nice silky lining here. The nice diamond plate on the outside. You guys can see the stitch work came out much better this time. I got the Deadpool belt through there. I will be at some point putting a little, like, either a loop here or notching it so I can put a loop or put the belt through it because I don't know where it is right now. But I have this guy. I have this belt, which is going to be my bandolier. And this guy is going to go down to my hip. And I don't want it to shift on me because it's going to have the bowcaster magnetized to my back. So I'm going to need it strapped down there. But this is actually a luggage strap. So if you can find all kinds of interesting stuff. I got this at Walmart in the discount zone. It's also gonna have where we gotta make the weapons later. We're gonna make the blaster that the Jawas carry that has like that weird can tip. That's gonna be my sidearm for the front, and then for my back, I'm gonna have the big bowcaster. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to put those on here as a live stream because last time I showed something on here that was firearm shaped, it did not like it and it told us no and kicked us off. So, but we will be upgrading this thing as well. We have fabric for that. We are going to be using this, which is recycled fabric from an MMA punching bag. I am looking online for a free pattern for a Deadpool mask, and then I have to figure that out. And then last night, I was working on the cape. To much stress of me and Sandra, we got the fabric cut. It was not easy. It was actually kind of miserable. So you can see there's a ton of different little cape shapes here because I was making them out of paper to see when you close them what shape you get. So like this one, you get kind of that bell cape, the standard like beast from Beauty and the Beast. I have a straight round one, but I noticed when you wrap it and you turn that into a flat, you get like this weird V cut here, and I didn't like that. And your bottom becomes longer in some couple spots, but in shorter in other spots. This one is where we landed. So this one is a bowl shape. So it's a circle here and a circle here with a kind of partial flattened piece here to soften out the middle section. So basically, if you took like a 6-inch circle over here and a 6-inch circle, so you take the 6-inch circle and you open it up and you put the radius of an 8-inch circle in the middle section, you'd get that shape. But when you bring that one around, it actually sits flat. I don't know where I went here. And then I put the little notch where the bowcaster is going to go in there. And this guy actually can close up forwards, and it stays flat all the way around, and the tape will be even on the bottom. That fabric that I'm cutting it out of, that red suede that I have, this lovely red suede that we got here, was miserable. It's so stretchy, and trying to get it lined up in the right spot was miserable. But persist. Because you will get a great thing out of it. Usually the harder it fights, the prettier it comes out. But inside of that cape, because I want a stiff back here, I want to be able to put a magnet on my back, and I want to be able to drop the cape and have my bowcaster still on my back with the magnet and have the cape fall past the bowcaster. You get this shape. So this is where the magnet would sit, somewhere about here. And then that gives it the pass through there. And then I swooped it outward here just to give it some free, make it smoother when you you pull the cape back up. You don't have to take the bowcaster off to put the cape back on. So this is my drop, though. That brings us to today's project, where we get all this paper out of our way, which we will clean up later. And we have this piece, which is a beautiful piece that you'll never see. So this lovely cut here that kind of will be on my back in this position. But I noticed it wants to do this and fold inward, and that is what we have to solve today. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how to be able to sew this into the edge of those other fabrics, but at the same time I want to put a piece of wire around here so that this doesn't collapse. But I have to have it far enough back that it can sew, but close enough that it actually does its job. I see where you're coming from with the cane reference there. I kind of see the cane look. Ooh, good. Okay. So this is actually a Doom mask I printed in red, and then I painted in my details in black, and then just put metal scuff marks on anything that looks like it would be a high spot. So I'm not putting that back on there without that mask. That's in stock. So what we are going to now is our project down here. Like I was saying, is we need to figure out where here we want to put the wire. And grab our wire. So this is solid aluminum wire. You can get something similar to this anywhere that does clay. This is commonly used in like clay sculptures to give like arm shape and stuff like that. I love it for costuming because I can add this to it and make something that normally wouldn't stand up on its own stand up. So like when I do spawn, I already know I'm putting this in the bottom of my cape so that I can have those bottom frills that just come up and curl. Anyone that saw Danger Squirrel Girl last year, the tail had this wire in it, and that's how it kept that curve shape.
It does need to be fixed so it stays up by itself.
That's more of an attaching it to you problem than a it problem. It holds its shape. It's very heavy, so it's very leveragey, and we have to figure out how we want to tie that to you. Which I think that's going to come along with what jacket you end up with, because I might just make some kind of way to attach it to the jacket.
That's what I meant.
So most likely for something like, so a common thing with Squirrel Girls is you'll see a line going from the cell to their like shoulders, where they tie it on. What I'm looking to do is probably just put a little like belt loop type thing sideways on the back of the leather jacket that would look normal if you just wore the jacket, like it would be somewhere to hang up the jacket. And then on the tail, the actual tail itself, put a spot where it like hooks over that and holds it. Okay. Let's see. I'm thinking something like right there. But then how far over do we want to go? Where do we want this put in? Right there? Ruler? Alright. So, if you ever don't know what you're doing, just try stuff. That's a lot of how I learned a lot of the random techniques I don't know. Is like that, about an inch down. I like that. If you try it and mess up, don't do that. If you try it and it works, then do that. Also, there's high risk and low risk experimentation. So low risk would be something like, I bend this wire on the wrong spot, it doesn't work for me, I just rebend it. That's very low risk. High risk is, I only have enough of this fabric to do this. I cut it wrong, I'm done. So I have to make sure it's right before I cut that. Same with like the red fabric that is the cape. That's why I did small scale tests, which are low risk, and I did that with paper. And that's one of the things that this stuff's really great for is you can do it in paper and get a general idea of how it's gonna look. And that's can save you a lot of headache and money. And so if you, don't be afraid to make it out of cardboard or paper or something that's some kind of trash before you make the real one. Because, yeah, it took time, but you save how much? This fabric, this black fabric that I'm using currently, this stuff looks expensive.
We have a question in the chat.
Do you believe this quilted diamond fabric was the roll that I got, which literally made that skirt, this piece, I have a... Okay, we'll get to that in one sec. I made the skirt, this piece, and a small chunk left put in the way. That was like a little over $100. So some of these fabrics are not cheap. So if you can not accidentally waste some, and you can do it on the cheap by just using cardboard first or paper, 100%. Because the skirt, we drew that out 4 or 5 times on the show before we ever did it. So, all right. So, what James wants to know?
What is the easiest medium to work with, especially when starting out in cosplay?
It depends on your background. So it depends on your background, but the lowest risk, easiest to get into would probably be cardboard, and you can do really cool stuff with it. There's a couple of nights that go to Sec Anime. One of them is the Mountain Dew night, and his whole costume is made out of Mountain Dew boxes and bottles. Yeah, that's like zero cost really, because all you did was bought Mountain Dew, right? Let's face it, if you're making Mountain Dew night, you like Mountain Dew. You're already buying a ton of Mountain Dew, Kyler.
There was a follow-up question as well. What's a good tip you have for creating templates?
So, first of all, there's a lot of free templates online. If you look up free blah 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 patterns, you can find a lot. If there's not anything that work for you, you can at least look at those, get influence, and then turn around. There's no one's making this pattern. I just knew what shape roughly I needed. I knew I needed somewhere for my magnet, and I want space all the way around, so that no matter what position I'm in, there's a little bit of room that I'm going to hit it when I flip the gun back. And then I know I needed a certain amount of space for it to slide out and in. So, knowing those features, I figured out I want a magnet. I'm probably going to run with a magnet about X size. And with that in mind, I know I need this to be at least that size, but preferably just a hair bigger. and I know I want this just a little bit bigger than that. So like Jackie said, we all have a bajillion circles around the house. I do not remember exactly what I traced for this. I do believe it was actually my super glue. Yeah, I do believe, yeah, it was my super glue trick. So if you can use normal objects to get shapes that are really hard to draw. The circles are a pain to draw otherwise. So yeah. And then past that, like this is not that expensive to get. Just a cheap ruler. You can get the 3-foot ruler I use all the time. You get those things at Harbor Freight. I think they're like $7 or something like that. They're not that expensive. I do prefer the metal ones over the wood ones, just because the metal ones, if you drag a razor blade down the side, aren't going to splinter and chip over time. Where the metal ones, you can just drag it down a lot, and eventually you'll mess up your edge, but you'll keep a nice edge a lot longer. Also, if you can find the ones with the cork on the back, they are nicer, and they're less likely to scratch whatever you're working on. So, another good trick is, like right now I'm trying to make a 1-inch inward from the outside line. I'm really good at eyeballing stuff, but if you're not, you could take your pinky and put your pinky on the outside, set your pin at your 1-inch mark, and then here, let me take this down just here. Once your pinky's on the outside and you're set at your line, you just drag your pinky on the edge and drag the marker down. And you just follow. And you'll get 1 inch. I personally am better at eyeballing than I am at doing that process. But it is a great process, especially if you're working with wood. Fabric can be weird because sometimes it'll push in on you. That's what happened with this corner that pushed in on me. But that is, by having that line there, now I can take my wire and I can put my wire down and I just follow. Nice part of aluminum is you can bend this stuff by hand. Downside of a wire this thick, though, is it is not the easiest stuff to cut. Okay. Now, if you want to see these costumes in person, all 3 of them, Silver Age is going to be the spot you want to be at.
And that will be this summer in July.
Right, James? We're going to be at Silver Age, right? So this is another kind of important part here. So if you look at, I'll show you this end in a moment, but if you look at this end over here, it has a little loop on it. This side over here needs a loop on it. So I'm going to go a little bit past, and then I will hold my finger there so I know where my mark is. So you can see the loop there. The purpose of that loop is because the end of this metal will be sharp, for lack of a better word. It can go through your fabric. So this isn't like sharp, ow, it hurt me. More sharp, like it might poke through something, or it might scratch you a little. It's kind of a dull chisel sharp, or a flathead screwdriver sharp. Flathead screwdriver is a very good version to say. But I long pair of pliers to get your tight bend, pair of channel locks. Bend it as far as you can, and then you just squeeze it in till it touches, pinch it tight. There you go. And then we'll set this aside for just a second. Now, the two things you've got to do is do the ends here, and it's clocking your ends. So I want this to sit flat on the fabric. So I want it to, the hoop to be that way. So you can see this one's coming out towards you. So I'm going to have to rotate it down until it's clocked into the right position. And then just take a flat surface and you can play with your wire to get all your parts to fit as flat as possible. If I wasn't on microphone, I'd probably hit some of this stuff, the back of the pliers, but that would sound horrific, you guys. That happened. I'm not going to be mean to you. So I'm going to do this a slightly harder way and just soften it. It's that much. That's flat there. Now we double check to our template. And it should be universal either way. Okay, right, the hair. Something like that way a little, that way a little. And there we go. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. That's close enough to the line. And then now we get to hand sew. When hand sewing something like pleather or leather, you end up with a very large needle. You can get these needles from any Joann's, or, well, not Joann's anymore. Unless you have a Joann's, then lucky you. But Hobby Lobby should have them. Oh, what else? Michael's. Okay. So any sewing supply shop will have these big needles, or known as leather needles. Your Walmart might even have them, depending on what kind of Walmart you got going on. And I'm almost guaranteeing there's on Amazon. A lot of the time they will come as a set of different types. I don't see any of my hook ones. So a lot of time you'll have like a short, big needle, a medium, and a long, and then you'll have like two different hook-shaped ones. The hook ones are really useful. I prefer the hook needles, but I don't even know where, but I got a ton of straight needles, so I got a ton of these things. So I just use what I got. But when you go to sew this, it does not need to be anything crazy. It doesn't. In this case, it doesn't even have to be pretty because it's going to be hidden internally. It has to be strong. So in this case, I am ditching this string. So, and then I'm going over here to my sewing drawer. And we are going with some really heavy duty thread. This is actually wax thread. That's why you can see it kind of stands on its own. This is normally used for like leather work. I originally got this for making Hydra Bob, aka Kite Man. So that is not the right tool, but you can use whatever is handy. Oh, here's one of those hook needles I was talking about. So these are super useful. These are your friend. We will be using that later. Not for this particular task. And then they make all sizes of needles. There is a teeny tiny needle there you barely see. But so another thing that I love once I learned how to use them are these guys. So this thing has a little hooped wire on it. You've probably seen them in like your grandma's sewing kit, looking more like this. I like the big tab ones. There's also these other small ones that are like this. But what they do, where's my needle go? Whatever, we'll get a new needle. You let me set my string aside. About 7 minutes. Alright. So you have the eye of the needle here. This will go through the eye. So now you have that hoop through the eye. Then you take one end of your thread and you're going to go through that wire, which is nice and easy to do. And then you're going to pull the needle back over the thread and all the way off one end of the string. And then you take your tool and remove it from the thread. And it threads your needle for you. And you don't have to take your eyeballs and go insane trying to thread a string through a teeny tiny needle. It is a godsend when you're working with these tiny ones like this. If you have a little bitty guy like this, those are your friends. These big ones, you probably get away with them. But those little ones, so much better.
Yeah, I didn't know that's how you use those.
Yeah, I didn't for the longest time, and then when I saw it, I was watching someone else's stuff, and I saw it, and I'm like, I'm trying that, and then I tried it, and I don't go back. It's like when in the early 2000s when you got TiVo, you're like, oh, normal TV sucks. no one now that watches streaming wants to go back to rabbit ear. And then same technique Cindy taught us of sewing. Just I do one thing a little different than she does. She just uses the knot to hold it. I like to run through it to make a lock point right there. And I'm going to do a hoop stitch. If you are wondering what I am talking about, on a show a couple weeks ago, we had Cindy Rue on showing you how to sew. And you can go back and watch that on our channel. It is a very informational piece, teaching you how to use a sewing machine, how to use thread and needle, and even if you are not going to sew and make costumes that way, it is useful just in normal life because you will tear your clothes. Now what does he want to know?
What is your favorite cosplay creation skill you've learned or gotten better at that you're most proud of?
I've done a lot of crazy stuff with my cosplays. Like, I've done aluminum TIG welding for costumes, which is over the top. My sculpting is definitely one of the ones I got a lot better at that I found that I enjoy. But even something like sewing, which is not my forte necessarily, I am not a great seamstress or however that would go for a guy. Practicing it and having the skills make certain things in life just easier to do. Also, the more skills you learn, the better your brain will work. Because your brain is working out. You can treat this like a gym for your brain. Because you are making your brain do a thing that it doesn't know. Therefore, your brain has to work sections of itself that it's not using memory, it's using cognitive functions to get you to where you need to be to figure this out. And sometimes you'll get weird stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys see this weird, lovely loop here. And you just have to figure it out. I don't know which side this is. Which side is this? That side. And you just figure it out and work your way through it. But I have, we got here, I had a concept. I had no clue if this was going to work. So, I'm going to keep. Oh, the big news! I forgot the big news. Hey, say Wong, you got here just in time. So, big news on the channel here. We are going to be doing a couple things here. Every other Monday, we're still gonna have How Do You Do That? As long as we have a guest for that day, we'll be on every other Monday. So not this, or actually possibly this coming Monday. We're working on getting a guest for this coming Monday. If you have a skill you want to teach somebody, please reach out to us. And even if we don't teach you on this Monday, we'd love to. If you have a skill, let's teach everybody. Let's share our information. Tuesdays, I do those mini interviews that you guys used to see every once in a while in the our con breakdown video things that we used to throw up. I'm going to be taking those. I have a bunch of those that have never been released, and I'm going to take some of the ones that have been clustered in with a bunch of other stuff, and we're going to start putting those out every Tuesday. So you're going to get mini interview shorts every Tuesday, starting at the new year. Also, every Wednesday, you're still going to get this show. Be a maker, 6 o'clock. We will see you every Wednesday. Thursdays, we're going to also have a short coming out, and this one involves you guys. So this one's going to be Message a Maker. Push this up a little. So Message a Maker, I want you guys to send us pictures and either a question about your project that you have, or if you just want me to be like, oh, this, do you want me to just critique it, or just let me know what you want to, what could I do to this? How could I take this to the next level with this costume? Just put a brief description of what you want to know about it, and send your pictures and whatever pictures you have of your costume or your project or whatever it is in there, and I will do my best to give you as many ideas as possible, as long as I can fit in that little window for the short. All this will be on YouTube, by the way. And then I will also tag you in that video so that you don't miss your video. So please, when you send it to us, send your YouTube handle so that you can find it. Fridays, I'm going to start putting out tech tips. Different little mini skills videos that you guys can be like, oh, he talked about that one time in this one show, or even some of the stuff that I haven't done in some of these shows. So even something like working with wire to make things for a skill, or coming up the Eevee project, we'll have my recipe for making plastic blood. All these things, I'll be making little shorts out of them and giving you guys the tips, and you'll be able to directly look them up by what they are. Saturdays and Sundays, we will be anything else, any little skits we shoot, anything like that, we'll throw those up on Saturdays and Sundays. Those will not be necessarily consistent, but if we have something, we'll throw it out there. So if you want to give us the pictures, you can either send them to our Instagram in our DMs, or you can send it to DeLongFamCosplay14@gmail.com. And that is going to be in our chat right now. But yeah, definitely. The sooner you send them in, I'll take a look at them. All these new little short things, we're going to be firing them all up right at the beginning of the month. I'm going to film as many as I can That way we have some backlog and we don't end up missing any episodes or any shorts for you guys, and you guys can get as much out of this as possible. But that being said, we're running towards the end of the show. So, it is time to tell you about what is coming up.
All right, guys. Well, that one already happened. So let me turn down the volume here. Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay, mic check. Okay, that's normal. All right. So before I get into StocktonCon, I have a last minute little event to talk about. Secret Stash is having an event this Sunday. And sorry guys, I'm gonna bring up the address because it's not a location, but it's another Pokemon trading card event, and Sat Geeks will be there. We're gonna have all kinds of not giveaways, but we're gonna have wheels, a scavenger hunt, and tons of fun stuff going on. It is going to be at 2001 Point West Way in Sacramento, California. And it'll be February 22nd from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So, guys, come on down and do Pokemon trading, buying. Come say hi to Sack Geeks, do our scavenger hunt, and get some cool prizes. We're going to have a bunch of cosplay friends come and hang out with us as well. So come say hey and get some cool stuff from us there. And then the following weekend, we have StocktonCon Winter, February 28th to March 1st at the Stockton's Pop Culture Convention Center. And it's going to be a lot of fun there, too. There's going to be so many cosplayers and celebrity guests and stuff. So you guys don't want to miss that. If not, the same weekend, Reading Anime is happening. I know a couple of good cosplay friends that are going to be there. I believe Sacramento Deadpool and Loose Arrow is going to be there. So if you can't get to Stockton, but you're near Reading, there's something to do in Reading. And of course, guys, as you saw when the show started, we are 20 subscribers still away from 200, so we can do giveaways. You guys, we are getting more and more prizes to give away as we are collecting them all. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your co-workers to subscribe to DeLong Fam Cosplay so we can do a giveaway for 200. Let me fix the audio so everyone can hear Jeff. Yes, we got a Squirtle. So let me... Okay, volume's back on, so everyone should be able to hear Jeff if he speaks.
Anybody that's interested in the Pokemon thing happening this weekend, we will also be posting up the flyer for that on our Instagram. It has the address on there. So if you need the address and you're looking for it, you can go check out our Instagram. It will be on our Instagram.
Thanks, babe. And before we end up, Grave is having a show tonight. He is going to have Brett McKay, who is a horror and thriller writer that works including Damage Inc., The Other Side of Elsewhere, and Devil's Dance. Don't hurt yourself. So, guys, that's gonna be it for us for tonight.
Oh, I was gonna put this off.
Oh, sorry.
So, this is what I have, and then the other side, like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty because this is gonna be hidden. When I hit the end of this lead and I get to about the amount of thread left, I'll tie it off, and then I'll probably start another one from the other side. So the whole purpose of this is that you can see now it holds that fabric up versus this side that's kind of flopping around. And then this nice wide tab out here, I will be able to sew into the seam of the other part of the cape. And this will sit on my back and make it so that when I put the bowcaster on, it sits more crisply down my back. It'll also make the cape look a little more regal and rigid because the back will have a nice flat plate and you won't get that like wrinkled up look. And yeah, so this is basically shoulder pads for capes. So, but remember everyone, go hang out with Grave. They mostly pot out at night. And be a maker, not a hater.
Bye.
Bye everyone.